And we are live. And yes, we're live because once again, I am incredibly lazy, but also I don't have a lot of time for the filming and the editing. And that's why I actually jumped onto TikTok. So that way I wouldn't have to do all the jumping and the editing, but still be able to get some content out. So, yes, I am on TikTok now. So, find Narcotic Casserole over there. It's actually been kind of a lark. Actually, kind of been enjoying it. Anyway. Yeah, another reason why is because in the next couple weeks, I'm going to be in heavy rehearsals on The Rest is Silence, a Shakespearean thriller. Now, many of you might remember I've made allusions to the fact that we made a movie of this. And yes, we actually are in the process of releasing it. We are actually going to be releasing DVDs, and then very soon we'll be unleashing it on YouTube. But in the meantime, we are in rehearsals on an actual stage production on it, and we open not this week, but the week after. So I got a lot on my plate right now, and I'm going to be in pre production on our next show after that. So, all that out of the way, that's why we're doing this live. And also because honestly, I had kind of a fun time doing it when we did Toy Boat, the Vanquishers. See, this is me normally. So I'm not having to deal with having to edit out my little flubs because let's face it, William Hartnell, they didn't edit out William Hartnell's flubs. So, yes, the New Year's special, Eve of the Daleks. Now, funny enough, when during my fan film days, I actually did have a scenario where I actually really wanted to do a Groundhog Day story, and it actually boggled my head that Doctor Who for the longest time had not done a Groundhog Day scenario. Specifically, the idea of characters having to relive the same day over and over and over again until they get the right combination of what they need to do in order to move on to the next day. I was, for the life of me, wondering why Doctor Who has never tackled anything like that before. If there's one show you think that would have been prime for it, it would have been that. And if there's any writer I would have thought would have had a field day with that, it would have been Moffat. But no, it didn't happen. And I got to admire Chris Chibnall's daring to tackle it his own self. But, and if you remember some of my other reviews, I did say that there was kind of an absence of fun in a lot of Chibnall's stories. I think I may have to revise that because looking back, I was like, no, there's fun. It's just most of the stories tend to favor being a little more serious with a little bit of fun sprinkled in. But even the Daleks, this is a fun story. This is one where I had a big smile on my face from start to finish because immediately when I realized, oh, they're going to be doing a Groundhog Day, which is something I've always wanted to see Doctor Who do, but they do it in a way that is truly classic Doctor Who. And in that, I mean, because of the setting, it's set in a storage facility and or it's set in a storage house, kind of like public storage type deal. So it cracked me up that it's an excuse for Doctor Who to do a little bit of old school of the characters endlessly running around corridors. I cracked my shit up. I'm like, we're running through corridors. A lot of this episode is spent running through corridors. And I laughed so hard because there was something refreshingly old school about it. And the other thing that's special now, I'm wondering if this is one of those episodes where they had to think economically and also practically in order to make it, because I wouldn't be surprised if this episode was made during the throes of COVID. If such is the case, then they took advantage of it in the best way because the setting is great, the scenario is top notch, and I got to admit, and I think because it's in a confined space and because there's not much to divert the focus around, I feel like the story had a much sharper grasp on where they want to go, and it keeps it tight. It's a very tight story, and I had a great time watching this. You have two great one-time characters with Sarah and Nick. Now, I got to admit, I really love the fact that Sarah is very brash and very frustrated because, and Chibnall, to his credit, does a really good job establishing why this character just is done with this shit. She's done with this shit even before the real shit kicks off. And you immediately get her, you immediately understand her, and even in times when she's getting a little mean or being a little aggressive, you know where she's coming from because she didn't ask for this even before, you know, friggin' monsters came in and started killing her every 10 minutes or so. And I got to admit, that's kind of a hoot that this is where it kicks off. And then you got Nick, who now it's this scenario always is about the unrequited lover, and that's kind of a trope. And Lord knows Doctor Who has done the unrequited lover thing so many times, or so many times where it's always revolving around these two characters who are one's wants to tell the other that they love them, and the other one maybe is aware of it. It's all been done, but I think, and this all goes back to the things I've always said about the importance of telling the same story in an interesting way. I think a lot of that really does come down to if the material is well trod. It's important that you have actors who are able to make it fresh just by their own natural charisma alone. And with that, the two supporting actors who they've cast for these are very enjoyable, very funny, and also not typical. They're not, they actually feel like real people. They feel like legitimately real people, and I was rooting for them all the way through. Not even rooting for them to, hook up, but just the fact that they come out of it actually stronger people as a result. And the story does lend to that. And afterwards, you see them really happy. And I liked how a lot of the little things that they established about the characters in the beginning really do pay off in wonderful ways later on down the line. So I had a great old time once I saw that this is where they were going with it. Now, it's not just about them. Of course, this is coming very soon after the end of Flux, and I like how, for their perspective, from the Doctor, Yaz, and Dan's perspective, they're still dealing with the fallout of it. And what's even cooler is that the Daleks are here in response to the fallout of everything the Doctor did at the end of Flux. And it's kind of cool that such a big resolution to that story has resulted in this fun little classic running through corridors episode of Doctor Who, which I really got a sincere kick out of. And mm, and we even got a little extra peer into Yaz's feelings for the Doctor. Now, there's a part of me that was in my head going, "Really? We're doing this?" Um, and yeah, I was worried because again, I thought we were done with this um after Martha and after the whole Martha unrequited love bullshit fell flat, and after Amy tried to snog 11, and even after River Song, I was like, oh, we're gonna do this one again. But then again, it does actually account for a lot of Yaz's decisions leading up to this point. Specifically, why did she? Well, actually, the first major thing is after the Timeless Children, I found it interesting how after they got back to Sheffield, I liked how Yaz was in that spare TARDIS, hell bent to try to figure out how the thing works, so she can try to get back to the Doctor to try to save the Doctor, and how after Graham and Ryan left, how she still opted to stick around. All of that really does account for the fact that maybe Yaz really did. It's not. It's one thing. Yeah, you do definitely get the vibe that she still lusts for the adventure and the fact that she's out there saving plants. And let's face it, like most people who are forcibly removed from the Doctor, it's like, how do you go back to normal life after that? Now, so I totally got why Yaz was so hell bent to get back to the Doctor, and even during Flux, when they're forcibly separated from the Doctor, they go on that big 4-year odyssey to try to get back to her. And you totally get that, and you can't say that in the 4 years that he has spent with Yaz trying to get back to the Doctor, I do enjoy that Dan was sharp enough to pick up on it and pretty much saying, "So when are you gonna tell her?" And while it can be construed as a dick move that Dan just balls out tells the Doctor, I did enjoy how the Doctor is completely oblivious to the actual ramifications of what he means by it. And it still tracks for this Doctor and her capacity to be completely oblivious to people wanting to wanting to get close to them. and or want to try to confide in them, and how the doctor tends to try to and how the doctor tends to shy away from doing anything or saying anything on an emotional level because they don't know how to properly express themselves, or they are timid about opening up because of all the secrets they got. And I really am enjoying this idea that the doctor is really closed themselves off because they're afraid of opening up to Yaz because of all the big reveals, all these big secrets that that they're probably worried that Yaz would not be able to take because of all the big implications of what those could mean. And now the other sad part, and I'm kind of interested about how this is going to wrap up, owing to the fact that I think we only have like maybe two or maybe three more stories with Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. There's something kind of apt about this coming out now because, especially, and I really liked one bit of dialogue where Dan actually says, "Listen, I waited. I didn't come forward and say what I wanted to say to someone I really, really liked. And unfortunately, it came and right when things would look like they were happening, the universe ended and things got complicated," which I really like that line. I love it's kind of like it kind of goes it's kind of one of my other favorite lines from season 5 where Rory goes, first I was dead and now I'm a Roman. It's all very frustrating. And I'm like, there's a part of me wondering if Chibnall kind of tapped into his inner Moffat for this one because there's a lot of really charming bits of dialogue. There's a lot of great character interplay between our main characters and our regular characters um, as they meet and hang out with our core characters. All of that really, kept me going all the way through. I wanted to see how they're going to get out of this because another really clever thing. Now, I've seen the Groundhog Day scenario done so many times in so many ways. I mean, hell, there's a horror franchise focused on this, but this one does something especially clever, which I really like. Is it's not an infinite thing like Groundhog Day where he's perpetually stuck until he can get it right. But here, they have to get it right. They have to figure out the right way to get it right because because every time they die and keep getting resurrected, they're being resurrected 1 minute later, which means that if they don't get this right, when it counts, unfortunately, unfortunately, they could die for real. And I was really digging that. That was such a cool way to up the stakes. I mean, there was a lot of really well thought out things about this. And I got to admit, there is a part of me, and I loved how a lot of this also hinged on a character we've never seen, but is constantly alluded to. And I will say he's the kind of character who, if you met him, you'd want to fucking deck him. Yeah, fucking asshole Jeff, who's very obviously turning this entire storage facility into his man cave. And it's like, oh, fuck you, Jeff. Fuck you, but thank you because you're freeloading ended up winding up saving the day. Though I want to know about some of the things he got up to have all this toxic explosive stuff that he brought in very covertly. I don't know, but I got a sincere kick out of it. I liked how a lot of their salvation hinged on this one asshole who works there as well, who's turning this place into his own little private entertainment center. It was just great. I kind of really and now there are some mild inconsistencies, or at least some things that are tripped up a bit. There is a bit where mild coldness from the doctor's part, but I suppose the way she's playing it, and probably even the way Chibnall wrote it, I don't think they spotted that there is a bit of coldness as far as the doctor's attitude towards Nick at one point. And frankly, it's so minor, I didn't even notice it until I watched another review that kind of pointed this out, and I was like, "Oh, you're right." And I kind of just chalk that up more to the inconsistencies in Chibnall's writing. I mean, that being said, though, it's not the first time I've seen Jodie's doctor accidentally forget about another person. And it's a shame it's here because I will say one thing um, that many people always feel that a doctor should always have is that defining moment or that those moments that I feel will define this doctor, but not only that, will make us remember them. Like I mean, of course, Capaldi has, of course, two amazing speeches. The one in the Zygon Inversion, and of course in the Doctor Falls, and those are moments that really do define what made his Doctor great. Well, I feel like there's an incredible speech here that Jodie's Doctor has. This beautiful thing, which talks about, frankly, it's one of those things that really does define life. Now, but I like how Chibnall applied the predicament they're in, but I liked how he applied this to just life in general about how all of us always want things to constantly go right, how we're always hell bent to try and make everything perfect the first go. And the reason why we do that is because we really don't want to think about how much of a pain in the ass it's going to be to have to constantly do it over and over and over again. It is irritating, and it's something that we just don't want to be bothered with. We want to get it done right the first go around because we just want to move on to the next thing. And it kills us. In this case, it really does kill them that every time they screw up or get something wrong, they got to do it all over again and possibly screw up again. And I love that the doctor had this incredible speech pretty much talking about the hardships of life and what we usually have to go through on a regular basis. And it's a pain in the butt. And I like that this amazing speech comes organically from the situation, but I like how it can be applied to life. And it's definitely one of Chibnall's better moments as a writer. And and effectively one of his strongest bits of dialogue, which is another thing I've never really praised too much, but it's a great speech and maybe and really is one of those remarkable moments Chibnall really pulled out the stops. So I suppose this is going to be kind of a shorter one than my review of The Vanquishers because, frankly, I can't think of anything that made me rage out loud. This is just another fun little lark. In a way, this is kind of like for Jodie what Planet of the Dead was to Tennant, and I love Planet of the Dead because it's so much fun. It's not interested in being anything more than just a blast of an episode, and it is. It's one of I will definitely say when Jodie's era is done, when I revisit this one, this is definitely one of the episodes I'm gonna wanna revisit over and over again because it's a blast. It's a great old time, and for me, who's always wanted to see this scenario done in Doctor Who, and see it done especially well with a nice little twist that upped the stakes, I have no complaints. I really had a grand old time with this, and I hope a lot of you had fun too, and I will say I'm even more so hyped for the next one because it occurs to me, yeah, we've had Silurians back in Doctor Who, but we've never had Sea Devils back, and we're getting the Sea Devils back, and from that one shot, I'm like, I don't they didn't really do much to change them, and weirdly enough, they look great here, so, here's to the next one. No idea when it's gonna be, but I'm excited, so and that's like as I've said before, I would always want to be excited about the next Doctor Who. So, um, keep it here on Narcotic Casserole. We will be having a lot of stuff actually with Scream 5 coming out. I'm calling it Scream 5. Fuck just calling it Scream. Sorry. No, it's Scream 5. With that coming out, I am actually going to be doing a deep cuts Legacies of Fear talking all about the Scream franchise. And for that, I'm bringing back our friend JT Tally Smith, who did the deep cuts talking about women in horror. So we're going to bring her back to talk about the Scream franchise. So keep your eye on that, along with other things. And again, go to TikTok. I'm on TikTok now. Go to find Narcotic Casserole. There you'll see me do truncated 3-minute reviews of whatever movie takes my fancy. I've already been really surprised about the support I've already been getting. I did a review of Stuart Gordon's Dagon, which is now my top review, much to my surprise. So, suffice to say, been working out. Anyway, how did you all feel about this episode? Leave it in the comments below. For more addictive content on Narcotic Casserole, simply like, share, subscribe, click. Thou shalt be served and ending stream.